Steam and Rails. The one mod I've wanted for almost a year now since Create 6 released has recently announced it will not be updating for Minecraft 1.21, but instead they're updating for the next major Minecraft update, 26.1. This is incredibly sad news for me, as I had plans for monorails, a need for invisible tracks, and a whole lot more in this world, but all is not lost. I received a few emails and countless messages on CurseForge that led me to this, an unofficial port of Steam and Rails to Neoforge in Minecraft 1.21.1. So this was ported by Poppy Blossom and Chameleon 538, and it says here this project is still in the early development phase and may not be stable yet. It is always good practice to back up your worlds. The good news is I run my world on a server and I have nightly backups, so I'm gonna risk it. And by I'm gonna risk it, what I mean is I've actually had it running on the world for about 2 weeks now. I've not really run into any issues, but I've also not really used anything from Steam and Rails yet. Today, that changes, and we're gonna hope nothing bad happens. Now let's end this very convenient thunderstorm for my sad start and start making some plans. Now in the last episode of Perfect World post-production, I worked on the outside of the farm, adding a giant wheat field, a new building, as well as a few more farms, such as mushrooms in there, as well as wool and a really over-engineered milk farm that I might as well just had a cow in a box, because yeah, let's not go into it. It's fine, it's fine. Now, following the last episode, we've had loads of fantastic ideas in the comments for improving the wheat field, so we're going to add some boulders to the sides, some scarecrows, maybe even a tree or two nearby, and then we're going to build that tractor I promised, and hopefully use it to harvest the wheat field. I've got a few ideas on how we should be able to do that. Then lastly, we're going to tackle ideas for this field, and there are tons of great suggestions from you folks in the last episode's comments, so we're going to have a play about with a few of those ideas and see if we can come up with a solution. But let's start with the field though, shall we? Now first up, it's been pointed out to me that this area here is incredibly dangerous. A tractor isn't very well going to go along the edge here and harvest this field because it's probably going to fall off the edge. So we're going to make this a bit nicer. So I think we'll start just by removing some of the wheat from around the edge here. We'll bring it back to maybe like here, just so it's going to be a bit safer for our farmers. And because this land isn't hydrated, that'll all turn to dirt and then all the grass will grow, so that'll turn to grass. That's all good. But we've got a bit of a weird space here now. So I think what I might do is remove just a little bit more, and I'm thinking maybe a custom tree or two. Now I'm not very good at custom trees, but I'm not going to get better if I don't try, so let's go grab some bits and bobs and see what we can come up with. Now we could do with some leaves. Let's see what we've got down here. Well, we've got loads of oak and a bunch of birch. Them two tend to go well together. We'll take a few spruce as well, but I doubt we'll use them. Right, let's go try build a tree. In fact, before we begin, let's decide what kind of tree we want to build. And I think I'm just going to try and build a traditional kind of oak tree. We're going to use some bite blocks to kind of create some roots around here. And then we'll use the bite blocks to create some branches as well. That should work quite nicely. And I believe the trick with trees is if you can get a good shape before you put the leaves on, then you should be okay. So we're going to try and get this right. Well, it's not perfect, but it's not bad. I think that's a pretty good frame to be working from. Now let's jam some leaves on there. And the trick here is going to be to make sure we leave air gaps, which thankfully, because of the way we've done the branches, that shouldn't be too difficult. We're going to use some of the birch leaves underneath where it'll be a bit darker with oak leaves on top. Well, it's not a bad start. Let's just get the rest of this covered. Well, we have a tree, I guess. It's not the best tree in the world, but it'll do. In theory, the more I make, the better I'll get. Now, with the rest of this space, I think I just want to put in a small bench, maybe a little bit of foliage. And then I think what I want to do is actually put in a path. Just a small one that sort of winds down the hill here. And then I'm just going to wind this path all the way down to the farmyard here. And we'll put in a little gate. There we go. We now have our bench. We've got a footpath that takes us all the way back down to the farmyard. And that definitely helps break up the field a little bit. But we've still got some more work to do. And I was considering adding some boulders into it. But I think if we were to put boulders in the field, that's going to make it very difficult for the tractor. I then considered putting some around the edges, but I'm not really sure I want to do that. Maybe that's something we can do at the back in future. I'm not sure. Not sold on that one just yet, so we'll come back to it. For now, scarecrows. And scarecrows should be fairly easy to do. We just need to grab ourselves some straw statues. They're fairly easy to make as well. Let's make a bunch of those. We're going to want fences. Let's maybe use the spruce horse fence, and we'll figure out where to put these. Let's just choose a random spot, say here. We're probably going to want that to be 3 high. And we'll stick a straw statue there. Crouch right click to get into his thing. And what do we want? A style. So no gravity. Poses, we probably want some kind of T pose, I would imagine. So I think the closest we've got is the entertain one. And position, Y position. Now we've turned off gravity, we can lift him up. Now his head, I want that kind of flopping down a bit. Then we'll, with these arms, we'll stretch those out so they're more like that. These legs are okay. Now we just need to get him touching the pole. So we'll adjust the position, not the Z position. We want the X position this way. Maybe we should raise him up a little bit as well. There we go, one scarecrow. We just need a couple more of those, I think. We don't want to overdo it. Let's stick one here. We'll put him in a similar position. There we go. And we'll just stick one more around here somewhere. And this one, we'll rotate him round a little bit as well, just to add a bit of variation. How are we looking? Yep, scarecrows look good. So I wouldn't say the field is perfect, but it's definitely looking a bit better. And it's raining again. So let's maybe have a think about this tractor. Now, firstly, I don't want it to be a giant tractor, otherwise it's not going to fit in our tractor shed. So it's going to be kind of like an old school tractor, but mixed with future tractor, because we're in a solar punk world here, so I think it makes sense for things to actually hover, add a bit of sci-fi into the mix, and also match our big storage truck up there that we're just not using. And what I want to try and do is have it so the tractor does actually harvest the cornfield. Not necessarily all of it, but probably only just a small portion of it. After all, I don't want it to look like it's always waiting to grow, which means we're going to need some kind of harvester on it. And in Perfect World 1, we did have a harvester, a similar kind of setup, where we had the tractor come out, it connected to a harvester, and then it went into the field, harvested, dropped off the harvester, and then went back into its shed. But I want to try and do things a bit differently this time. And I want to have it so the harvesters are actually vertical, and then when it goes into the field, they then fold out, and then he starts harvesting. I think that'll be really cool. And I'm hoping we can find a way to make that work. But we are getting ahead of ourselves. First, we need to make a tractor, and for that, I'm going to need some stuff. And if we're going to make this tractor move, then we're also going to need some train stuff, which is a first for this series. We've not used any train stuff yet. And thanks to the Steam and Rails port, we've got access to narrow gauge rails, so I think we're going to make ourselves some of this as well, which is actually made differently to the big track, so we're going to need to adjust our machine slightly. But I think I also want to make use of this, the loco metal, just because I think it looks cool. So we're going to need red dye and normal loco metal. How'd you make that? Aha, stone cutting. A block of iron will give us 8 riveted loco metal, and then we can use that in the stone cutter to make the different types. Okay, we need a bunch of iron, and thankfully this farm's still doing its thing. We should probably upgrade this, move it, put it somewhere else. I don't know. We need to do something with this at some point. We just kind of left it since the start of the series. But anyway, right, let's make some iron blocks, and then we can make riveted loco metal. We're not going to need too much of this, I shouldn't imagine. And then if we put that in the stone cutter, we can get all the different types. But I need to dye it first, so let's grab our red dye buckets, and we'll just do what we normally do and quickly get that dyed up here. There we go. Now we're also going to need a train station, which means we need train casings. And we've got some sturdy sheets, and we've got brass casings. Okay, we can do this. So if we put the brass casings in there, and we put the sturdy sheets on this guy, there we go, 14 train casings. So if we then make a couple of compasses, we can make stations. But we're also going to need controls. So we need precision mechanisms, which we don't have any of. Not to worry, we can make those easy enough. Just need to get some gold sheets, then load them up in here, and that's going to make a bunch of them for us. But we can now make some train controls. We'll need a couple of those. And the last thing we're going to need is some of these hypertube entrances, because they make awesome hovery type things. Engines, that's what I meant, hover engines. Yeah, we like them. Probably also going to want a selection of copycat blocks and girders and things like that. So let's just grab some stuff and let's design a tractor. Right, so tractor. What we're going to do is actually build it out the front here, just so we have a little bit of space to work around. And we'll start by building an engine block. And style-wise, I think I want to make it look a bit like a normal tractor, just maybe a tiny bit more sci-fi and with hover engines instead of wheels. So I guess let's just start with a basic shape. Ooh, I'm not sure on that texture. Didn't realize it was all going to be waffled like that. Let's go see if there's some alternatives. So we have a slashed metal version, which it looks like is more like this. How does that look? Oh yeah, that's much better. Let's use that. Right, so let's carry on and build out a frame down here. Let's think about this. We're going to want wheels at the front. So let's just put a couple of these in. put the furnace back. And we don't have a lot of space here for the hover engines, but maybe we could do something like this. I feel like that needs to come back a block. That does not look right. And then for this frame bit here, maybe let's try girders instead. And then the back wheels are going to want to be bigger. So that's where we're going to use these hyper tubes. I feel like the rate we're going, though, this is going to be way too big to fit in there. So let's rethink this a bit. Maybe instead of having 2 wheels at the front here, we can just have 1 in the middle. Then the ones at the back here, we'll just pull forward. Yeah, that already feels like it's going to be a better size. But we're probably going to want a solid block there. And then ideally, we want some kind of big arch over these wheels. Which means I'm going to need a couple of copycat slopes, which I don't like to use very often, but I think they're going to make a big difference here. So if we get the slope layers, then we can adjust them however we like. So if we do something like this, slabs in the middle, it needs a bit of depth. So let's maybe use some of these half panels and a slice. Okay, that's looking better. And on the top here, we can do that again. And I wonder, can we squeeze in some pipes down here? Maybe if we got rid of that, and that. Put some pipes in like this. I guess we're probably going to want to encase those. But I don't like how it looks on the side here now. So let's maybe replace these 2 bits here with copycat layers. Yeah, that's better. And I've also made a few of these tube scanner attachments, which are just things you can stick to the side of these, but they had a nice little detail. I like that. Maybe we should use them on the front as well. In fact, let's maybe only use those on the front. We should probably get a bit more red down here as well. And I've got an idea. Now that we've got the steam and rouse add-on, we should be able to make these, the headstocks. It'd be nice to use one of these on the back of the tractor. So this is the recipe I need. So I need iron sheets, industrial iron, shafts, and iron nuggets. Let's just grab some of the industrial iron, get some iron sheets, also get a few nuggets while we wait. And now we can make some Lincoln pins. And I think if we combine those with panels, do I have any panels on me? Copycat panels, there we go. Then we get some headstocks. Then once we've got these in our hand, we can just hold Alt, and we've got lots of different variants. But the one I'm actually interested for now is this one, just the copycat headstock, because I'm hoping this is only going to cover up like a portion of this bit. Yeah, look at that. All right, I think this is starting to look quite cool. Next up, we're going to need controls. We want this tractor to be able to go in both directions, which means we need 2 sets of train controls, 1 facing in each direction, and we need to put a seat in the middle there. So let's quickly grab a bit of wool and maybe a black seat. Then we just need a slab, and there we go. Maybe we'll just put a couple more slicey bits on. Right, looking good. However, at the back here, I think I actually want to remove that bit and chuck in a stock variant. Maybe we should go for like one of the knuckle ones. Nope, I missed. Something like that. And I've also made a couple of these netherrack millstones just because they're red and I thought they'd look quite cool. I mean, that does look quite cool, actually. I like that. Gives a bit more shape to the back of the tractor. So I think we're almost there. We just need some kind of light on the front of it, I think. Maybe we need some levers underneath as well, just because we like that look. And we do have create bells and whistles, which actually has a headlight. So let's just make some of those. I've grabbed a daylight detector as well. We might be able to add some kind of solary bit to it. I don't know where we'd put that, but we'll try a couple of things out. I mean, that's not looking bad from over here. What do we think? Does that look like a steampunky hover tractor type thing? There's not really any surface to put any solar on, apart from potentially there, but I think that's just going to look weird. Yeah, that looks weird. Not to worry. We can maybe do some rear lights as well, though. I've got an idea of what we can do for that. Back to the workshop. So we're going to grab a couple of these gauges, a couple of redstone blocks. We'll stick those on the back here. Add a little bit of that. There we go. Though I do wonder if maybe we should try another red block. Something different at the bottom here to what's on top, maybe, just to give it some kind of two-tone kind of effect going on. And actually, I've got an idea. Isn't there a way to make copycat pipe? Wasn't that a recipe? Or actually, maybe it was zinc. Aha, there we go. Because before we go and explore other reds, I wonder, can I actually do that? Oh, yes. That looks much better. And brass piping. Wonderful stuff. I like that. But anyway, distractions. What were we doing? Ah, yes, we're going to look at some other red blocks. I'm thinking maybe I want something a bit darker, a bit murkier. Oh my days, there's so many red blocks. Ooh, what's that? Redstone metal. Oh, I like that. How do I make that? Azurine, iron sheets, and red dye. Well, I can get some red dye from that. We can easily get some more iron sheets. And we've got a little bit of azurine. A whole 13 of it. But that should give us a few blocks of this stuff. We'll just see what it looks like. So what was it called? Red stone metal? Yes. So we've got 24 of it. Let's go see what it looks like on the tracker. Don't know why I said it like that. So if we put it maybe on this level, so just sort of replacing these bottom bits. What do we think? I think I just prefer the original red we had. So yeah, we'll go back to the normal red. And while I'm here, I'm going to pull that out by a block. Can't place my factory gauges now, though, because they're not tuned to anything. So, yeah, we're going to have to quickly run off and do that. In fact, I think we have some pre-tuned ones in here. Let's just grab those. And it looks like it's actually configured to that stock link. But it doesn't matter. We only want it for the lights. There we go. And I'm still not sold on this bit here. Maybe we just need a slab in there with this thing hanging down. Yeah, I think we're looking all right. It's a bit of a weird looking tractor, but I don't mind it. So now what I need to do is turn this into a train. That way I can pull it forward a bit and we can work on building a trailer which will do the harvesting. So when it comes to track, now we have steam and rails. We've got lots of options. This is the default track, so this is what our machine's set up to do at the moment, but we want to use narrow gauge. This way we can turn sharper corners and just generally have more control over everything. But it does mean we need to swap out one of our deployers for a saw. So our rail machine is this one here, which has no space whatsoever. Right, let's see. We might be able to squeeze something in. We would do something like that. And that. So it's going through the saw. It's getting a nugget. Oh, it still needs 2 iron nuggets? Does that mean I need to put these through here again? Yes. Yes, it does. It's okay. I've got an idea. We extend that out another block. Put that belt in. Remove that. Remove that. I have no idea what's going on there, but it was all flying into this chute. Iron nuggets? Yep, no idea. Speaking of iron nuggets, let's give a stack to this guy. We're going to need a shaft up the top. We can put the mechanical press on there, temporarily block off the end, and we'll get the barrel back in with an input thing. Right, so that should now make us narrow gauge rail, but it's not. It's just making normal train track. Ah, that seems to have a filter set to iron for some reason. So let's try that again with the original setup. No, now it's just giving us incomplete track again. I'm so confused. Wait a sec, maybe I need no filter whatsoever. That would probably help. Third time's the charm. Let's give this a go. Narrow gauge, right, okay, so it was just user error. On the plus side, it means I can put this back to normal. So the only change I did need to make was swapping out the deployer for the saw. But now, if I do this, yep, we can hear the press go in. We're getting our narrow gauge rail. Well, I made that a lot more difficult than it needed to be, didn't I? Right, that should be plenty of track to get us started. And because we're going to be going into the wheat field here, I don't really want to be using invisible tracks which we can put on the surface, because that's going to stop us from being able to grow wheat in all those spots. So instead, what we're going to do is dig down probably about 5 blocks and then carve out an area for the rail to go. So I've got a lot of digging to do down here, but I want it to be quite precise, so I don't want to use a big drill. However, I do have an idea, and that is to build one of these, a portable drill. Now, how do I do this? So first up, we need a brass pickaxe, which I'll be honest, I didn't even know was a thing. So then we can make the drill head, just like that. Then we need a steam engine. Oh my days. So we're going to need 3 fans, or propellers, I should say. So let's make those first. I'm just going to need to go grab that iron we were turning into sheets earlier. So we're going to need large cogs, small cogs, brass sheets. We're going to need some propellers and some andesite alloy, which I do believe we have in our workshop over here. We do. Wonderful. Now, there's no point building a whole machine to make a steam engine, so I'm just going to do it over here. So, brass sheets, and that's a press, not a deployer. So let's quickly grab one of those, chuck that in there, then get our brass sheet down, and now we should just be able to rotate through these. And there we go, 1 steam engine. Wonderful. And then we just need 1 brass ingot, and we can make our drill, which is also going to need fuel. So let's take a couple of these. And there we go, portable drill. So that is fueling itself up. And this way, we should just be able to dig 3x3 tunnels everywhere we want the rail to go, which is going to make things much easier for us. Let's crank up the brightness. Oh, wait a minute. It looks like I need to actually stick the digging enchantment on it. And then I can do 3x3. Now, the question is, do I have one of those? I do. Good stuff. And the good thing is, this thing doesn't have durability. It just needs fuel. But now, yep, there we go. We can dig in a 3x3. There's a lot of water down here, but that's not really a big issue. Rail doesn't get affected by water. At least it shouldn't. I do seem to remember Foxy having some problems in Just Create, but we'll give it a go. Worst case scenario, we can always drain it out. All right, let's just get the first bit of rail in. So I've just got a straight rail in for now, and what we're going to do is stick down a station here. Set that to create new train. Then with our train casing, we're going to put a new bogie down, and we're just going to get some glass and some super glue while I think of it. Oh, we don't have any plain glass. I guess we're going to make some. So let's just quickly blast some sand, and we only need a few panes of glass for ourselves. So the rest of this we can just chuck back in storage. So if we glue our entire tractor together, all right, I think that's all of the tractor up the top here. If we hold the super glue in our offhand and just attach some glass to the bottom, then we should be able to... Nope. Oh, I haven't actually glued it to the bogie. There we go. Now we should be able to assemble train. There we go. Our first train assembly, which means I should now be able to drive our tractor. Wonderful. And it looks like it's going to fit in our garage just fine. Don't bang my head either. So what I'm going to do now is just put down another station. We'll stick that right there. We'll move this up to the new station, and that should give us enough space behind to build a trailer. So let's disassemble the train. And now we need a harvester. And I think what I want to try and do is have a trailer that's attached to this, but it actually folds up, which means we're going to need to be able to disassemble the tractor, fold down the arms, then reassemble it again, and then send it on its way. That's what I want to try and do, and in theory, it should be possible. If I just quickly make myself a crank here and get the deployer, I'm sure I still had one. Yep, there we go. I'm going to need a hopper as well. So let's craft up one of them. But I believe what we can do is if we put down that there, stick the crank on the side, give this guy a wrench. Thanks to steam and rails, when we do this, it should... Oh, well, it's supposed to disassemble and reassemble the train, but it's not working. I'm sure that was a thing in steam and rails, but maybe it's just not been ported properly in this version. Let me do a quick bit of research. Well, it looks like it's a known bug and is being actively kind of worked on, but still doesn't work right now. Which makes me sad, because that kind of puts a flaw in my whole plan. But if it's a bug they know about and it's being worked on, hopefully it will be fixed soon, maybe. So as we can't do what we wanted to do, I guess for now I can just make a normal trailer, but have it so it can fold up and fold down manually for now, I guess. And then hopefully we can automate that in future. But that means I'm going to need a bunch of harvesters, so let's quickly make some of them. But we already had 5, but let's get a few more. There we go, that should be plenty. Oh, and thinking about it, let's get some vaults as well. And some portable storage interfaces. And I'm going to use some grey dye on the vaults and get shipping containers. Now let's build this out with some girders, I think. So we'll start with a girder there, put another connector there because that would make sense. And then I think what we want to do is bring it down. Then I'm just going to put some temporary blocks in there for now so we can put down the harvesters. Maybe 9 will be enough. Then if we want these to be able to turn up and down, we're going to need mechanical bearings there and there, which means we're going to need a gearbox there and there. I think I might actually have some of them on me. Yep, I've got 2. Perfect. So we'll have gearboxes there and there. And then maybe let's get a few encased chain drives. So we'll put one there. For now, we'll put one there. So this will just be for testing purposes. Hopefully in future, we'll be able to have it so that all of this is part of the machine. And then when it pulls up, it connects to one of these already in the ground. And then that gets powered from down below. But we can't currently do that. So instead, what I'm going to do is just put another one of those on top. I'm going to grab that hand crank. I'm going to stick that on the back. And when we do that, yeah, look, they go in an opposite direction from each other. Perfect. So we're just going to encase all those bits in industrial iron so it looks a bit better. We can put a solid block there. We just need to get a couple of mechanical bearings. In fact, can I just make them? I can. So if we put those there and there, then we need storage, which I just want to put in like this. We're also going to need a couple of portable storage interfaces, so let's get those in. We can't encase those, sadly, but let's just do that and that, so everything looks a bit more attached. Now, when it comes to gluing, we're going to glue this plow to these plows, those to the shipping containers, and I guess we'll stick that on as well. Then separately, we'll stick the middle plow to this stuff. Get all this stuck in together. And I've just rotated it up, but now I can't rotate it back down again. Something weird's happening with the glue. So let's get all this unstuck. And I think the problem was the two little brackets I put on either side. So let's just rebuild this bit again. This time we won't put brackets on the sides, but then we can re-stick it. So we need to get all the plows and the shipping containers as one bit. Then we can get everything else. Okay, so now when we spin it, it's still breaking off our portable storage interfaces, which means it's going to do the same thing again, right? Okay, third time's the charm. We'll get this right eventually. So shipping containers. Harvesters, same on this side. Glue those bits together, glue everything else together, and we'll put the storage interfaces on the back here. That way they shouldn't interfere with anything. Let's try again. Okay, that folded them up, although it has rotated the harvesters. Looks a bit weird, but it's fine, it's fine. And then when we put them back down again, excellent. So that will work for what we want to do in future, but for now, we're just going to have to leave it like this, which means it's going to need somewhere to be parked because that will not fit in the garage like that, which is why I wanted to be able to fold it up. So how about we park this over here and just hope that the decoupling thing works from Steam and Rails? Because if that works, then we can just come out and collect it and go on, which I know is what we did in Perfect World 1, which is why I was trying to make it a bit more interesting this time. But we're going to have to wait for that bug to be fixed before we can make it more fun. For now, I need to go underground. I need to get some more rail in so that one, we can get into the field, but also so we can pick up the trailer. So it's back to digging for me. In fact, before we do that, we need to turn this into a carriage. So if we put a bogey there, then use some glass and super glue again, glue that to that, then when we make a train, that should have two bogies now and two carriages. So now we can go backwards and we can go forwards and harvest. Wonderful. Right, anyway, let's dig some tunnels. Right, so I've dug out a little area down here, and if we press F4 and go up, we can see that covers the areas we're going to need. So first up, if we were to park our tractor trailer about here somewhere, that means we can curve round to here. Where's the middle of our gate entrance? That will be about where I'm standing. So the tractor's going to want to come out of the barn, go this way, traveling forward, then it's going to want to reverse back this way, pick up the trailer, then go forward this way, round out into the field, and the center of the field is here. But I have noticed a problem. Our gate here is only 5 wide, the one here is 8 wide, the plow is 9 wide, and I don't really want a gate that big in my field, so I'm thinking I might want to park the plow over here somewhere instead, just so it's always at the edge of the field. Then the tractor can come in, pick it up, and go off and do its thing. So we're going to need to do a bit more digging, but first up, let's just get the field connected. But I mean, I guess we can remove all of this. We're not going to need this side of the rail now. So let's just move the train out of the way for now. But yeah, you see the problem? It's a little bit too wide for this, and it's going to be much too wide for the field. Right, so I've got a bit of extra rail in, so I should now be able to pull into the field. So I'm actually going to harvest our crops, of course. And then I should be able to reverse over to this side. And I reckon we can go back a couple more blocks. So let's go to here. We're going to put a station in and call this plow. So let's park that in the station. Okay, that looks good. We'll obviously need to sort out the ground. But once it's parked here, what we want to be able to do is to couple and decouple it. So that means we're going to need to make a decoupler, or a train coupler, I should say, which is fairly straightforward, actually. In fact, I already had what I needed on me. Fantastic. Now, the way this works is if I put this here and there, you can see it's got a distance of 5. What I want to do is have it so that these panels are underneath both of these bogies. So if I grab a wrench, I can set this to, is it 7 meters? But if we now approach that station and then put down a comparator here, here, because it requires both track points to be occupied, which they are. Let's maybe try putting this in again. It says there's no train there, but well, there clearly is, which is weird. Oh, I see. I think it's because the corner might start a little bit too early here. So let's do that. Give it an extra block. Put the train back on the track. Let's reapproach the station. Now, this time, train 1, it's saying unnamed train, so it recognizes that. And it's recognizing the second one as well. Wonderful. So basically, if we get rid of that comparator and place it down again, that should decouple the trains. Yeah, look at that. And then what we're going to do is put another station here with another comparator. So if I now pull away, I should have just the tractor. Then if I come back in and to this new station. I need to adjust where the station is. It actually needs to be there. Now when we pull into that should reconnect the plow. And if we drive off, look at that. Then when we go back again, unconnect it. Excellent, it works. So what I'm going to do is actually just pull this plow out of the way so we can sort out the ground behind it, because we're not going to want wheat in any of this area anymore, because this will be our plow storage. So we need to mess up this ground. We also need to actually offload everything, so I'm probably going to rotate these so they face downwards, and then when it's parked up here, we'll just have something underground that feeds it all into our warehouse. So let's get this tidied up, work out a route for the tractor to go around our field, and sort out the bit of track over there. So I've sorted out the parking spot for the plow, and I've also put some more tracks in underneath and a couple of stations, and I'm hoping we're going to be able to get this to at least come out of the barn, pick up the plow, pull out, reverse and put the plow back, and then drive back to the barn. That's what we're going to test anyway. But for that, I need a train schedule and I need a driver. So I'm going to need a bit of wool. Going to need precision mechanism. Going to need some string. And we're going to need the andesite casing. So let's get the precision mechanisms on the go first. Excellent. We actually already had a couple in there, which was handy. Then what we're going to do is down here at the rail maker, we're going to stick another deployer in there. We're going to give that one string, that one precision mechanism. We're going to put a bit of wool in here. That should, there we go, make us a white conductor's cap. We're going to grab a lead, and we need to make a train timetable. So we need sturdy sheets. Let's grab our powdered obsidian. We'll grab a bit of paper as well so we can make our schedule. And we can make our sturdy sheets with our little machine down here that we built. Just need to put some powdered obsidian in there. Oh no, we're out of lava. Well, that complicates things. We only need one for now, though, so we're just going to cheat and use an item drain and a bucket of lava. Because although I built this thing, I haven't actually used it yet, and we haven't got any way of actually filling up this tank. So we're going to need to go to the nether and build something that we can use to refill that at some point. So for now, what we're going to do instead is stick a drain there, stick a bucket of lava in, and there we go. Sturdy sheets, train schedule. Wonderful. So we're going to make ourselves a little driver. There we go. Something else from Steaming Rails. He's just so cute. Stick him on there. Now let's do a train schedule. So we want this to travel to plow, collect, reverse. In fact, what we should do is we'll go down there and I'll show you exactly what I've done. Be more useful for everyone. Right, so this station over here, right at the back, that one is plow station reverse, and that's the one that comes up to this part in the field. So we tell him to go there first. We don't need to have any kind of delay. But then we want him to come all the way in here and stop at this station, which is plow collect. We'll wait there for a couple of seconds. We would then normally send him off to go around all of his field and do his thing. But then he'll come back to plow collect reverse again, which is once again that one over there. Then we'll reverse into plow station because we're reversing with the plow. This will be the front of the train. So this one is plow park. Wait for 2 seconds there. And then what we want to do is actually park the tractor, which means we want him to reverse into the tractor shed. So he's going to come over here and go to this station first, which is here outside the front of the garage. So that's farm garage reverse. Wait there for a second. And then travel to station, farm garage. And this one we'll just leave here until the station is powered. And what we'll do is we'll put a redstone link on this station. Set that to receive. And we'll set that to wheat seed. We'll have a little switch in here. Once again, set to wheat seed. We're going to need a button. We'll give him the schedule. And he's going to do his first run. Oh, we're going to need to slow him down. He's a speed demon. Hopefully this will work. He's reversing back, collecting the plow. Then he goes forward. He would harvest all the wheat, do all his harvesting stuff. And then when he's done, he'll bring the plow back and that should drop it off again. And this is where we want him to drive home, but apparently he can't find his way home. So maybe I need to adjust the track down there a little bit. So that's this track here. Right, well, I fixed the track and he seems to be going back home. Although this station is facing in the wrong direction. So let's remove farm garage, put that in again, and there we go. He's coming back to there. Now let's just get this redstone link back in. We'll slow him down a whole bunch. We don't need him to be anywhere near as fast as he was. And what we're going to do is we're just going to move the farm garage right to the top. Now, if we click that, should set him off on his journey again. And hopefully he'll complete it this time. So far, so good. And this is where he got stuck last time. No, we're good. He's heading back to the barn, and he should pull up there, then reverse into park. Wonderful stuff. I think I just need to move the station back a few blocks. I want him sticking out, but not that much. So I guess for now, that's pretty much the best we can do until we can actually unassemble these things and make these fold up and down so we can actually store it in the garage and so on. This is going to have to do. And I still need to put all of the track that goes under the wheat field to collect everything. But now that I've seen what it's actually going to be doing to my fields, I'm not sure I want to trash the entire thing because it's going to rip out all the tall green bits, it's going to rip out all the dry grass, and our field's always going to look horrible. So we have put in all this work to do this, but I'm wondering if maybe we leave the actual farming to the farms over there. And I've actually just edited this video up to this point, and well, it's quite long. So I guess that's going to have to wait for the next episode. But so far, since we've added these steam and rails ports, the one thing I really wanted to use didn't work, which was using a wrench on a train station to be able to disassemble trains. But hopefully we'll get that in future. And the good news is, once we have built up the farms over here, we can potentially look at starting to build our very first monorail, because we're going to need to go to a new location for some of the future projects. But sadly, that's all we've got time for today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye now.